There's a really common mistake that I've seen over and over again from videographers and filmmakers, especially ones starting out. And it basically eliminates or significantly reduces their chance of getting work. And this year, I've noticed it even more than usual. Lately, I've been getting a lot of inbound emails from people looking for different jobs through my production company. Some looking for full-time gigs, some looking to be hired as freelancers. And I usually do take a minute or two looking at these emails. I click on the links. And I would say 75% of the time, I see this exact same mistake. And I've, again, seen this over the years too. When I click on the email link and I go to someone's website, their Vimeo page, their LinkedIn profile that they included in their email, and I see their name and title, right? Next to their title or next to their name, it typically lists their title as multiple different things. So for example, I'll see their name and their title says director, DP, writer, filmmaker, sometimes actor, sometimes producer, sometimes executive producer, right? And when they email me that, well, they're still trying to get a job as a production assistant or sometimes as like an editor. And then when I click and look at their profile, it says nothing about that. The word production assistant is almost never found in people trying to find a job as a production assistant, right? Usually it says director, DP. Now, I used to do this all the time in my 20s too. So one time I was hired as a PA, as a driver basically, and I had to go to the airport, pick up LA crew, drive them around Chicago so they could get the shots that they needed. And the director sat up front and he asked me what I did. Well, I was clearly a PA, a driver. But then I said, well, I'm a director DP, you know, I'm just doing this today. Even though that's literally the only thing I was doing to make money. And I had not one time made money as a director or as a DP, even though that's what I went to school for film school with directing concentration. And I took a lot of cinematography classes. That's not what I did for work. That's not what I got paid to do. I was paid to be a production assistant. But for some reason, I was like ashamed to admit that, even though that was my job at the time. So all my online profiles said director and DP, even though I literally had no experience doing any one of those jobs for money. So this is what I did instead after one of my mentors basically pointed this out to me. And I recommend if you are in the same position, do the same thing because it will significantly help you land more jobs, okay? You need to think of your career in filmmaking in different stages. Maybe right now you're starting out and you should be a production assistant because as a production assistant, you typically gain a lot of experience working on different types of sets. And you could typically work on really big sets too if you're a production assistant because it's an entry-level job. And then what you do is you promote yourself as that. You promote yourself as a PA. There's no shame in that, okay? Everybody has to have a place to start. So don't tell people you're a director or you're a filmmaker when you're trying to get hired by other producers and production companies. They would literally have no idea how to use you in their next project. I'm exactly in this position when I get these emails. I just end up ignoring them. I don't know what to do with a director when I have literally a dozen experienced directors, including myself, that I could hire that are in their 40s and 50s, right? When someone that just graduated film school or maybe like a 19-year-old is asking me to hire him as a director for the type of commercials I work on, it doesn't really make sense. So once you feel like you have enough experience in that stage, you find the next thing. So what I did is I was a PA, right? The next stage for me in the route that I wanted to take, which was becoming a cinematographer, was in the camera department. So assistant camera or DIT, media manager, was my next step. So I basically stopped taking gigs as a PA. I transitioned every time there's this transition period because I couldn't just do no PA gigs. That's all I was paying rents, right? And then become an assistant camera, AC. Then when I made that transition, I thought about the next transition. So I wasn't trying to go from a PA to like an executive producer, right? You just have to think of these stages that you have to climb and get the experience that you need to go from one stage to another stage. Now I'm talking about in the world of videographers and filmmakers that are really doing this through work or through freelancing. There's a whole different route with making your own video production company. I'm not covering that here. I'll cover that in a ton of other videos that I'm making and I've made in the past. So what I did at this point too was I changed how I position myself in my online profiles. So instead of saying I'm a director, DP, filmmaker, whatever, I said, hey, I'm a production assistant or I'm an assistant camera, right? I did exactly, or I basically positioned myself exactly on the job that I was doing for money so I could get similar jobs till I decided that stage was complete and I wanted to move on to a different stage, and then I changed how I position myself at that point. So if you're trying to be hired in this world, think of the stages, realistically think of where you are. If you're promoting yourself as a director for commercial work and you're not getting that, think of another path that could get you started and then you could level up in these stages. Okay? If you think of it that way, for people like me, it makes it a lot easier to give you an opportunity. I hire production assistants all the time. Okay, it's very rare someone asks me to hire them as a production assistant and I don't get them some kind of opportunity to be on one of my sets, right? Because it's really easy for me to have multiple production assistants, see how they are, and then they could move up through those stages with me or someone else, other production companies or other producers. So let me know in the comment section what job title right now on your online profiles you have after your name. I'm curious to see if you're using multiple job titles or you're doing already what I just explained in this video, which is promoting yourself as the very thing you want to get hired for in this stage of your career. And I hope you found this useful. I'll see you next time.